What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Sports to the Wire. And for those of you who are new to the show, I am your hostess, Rashid, and you got Barrick on the street right there, just like, chilling it up right there. And then we have special guest Kenneth back on the panel today on our very, very special subjects. Barrick, take us off, brother. Take us off, man.
Oh, you want me to take you off? Okay, well, right now we have a situation where we have a new head coach in Brooklyn. His name is Steve Nash.
Yeah.
Gold medalist, Hall of Fame player, two-time NBA World MVP, and actually an ambassador of Canadian soccer. Guy gets around pretty well respected and well acknowledged in his fact. So by the chance of him getting a hold of this job is based on the fact that he is very friendly with Mr. Marks. And they were both teammates through 2006 and 2008 with the Phoenix Suns, so they have great knowledge of one another. And obviously, with that being said, he was able to obtain the position of head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Now, our thing right now that we're talking about is him being in a position that he's in as a Caucasian Hall of Fame ball player, his knowledge and friendship with management at the Brooklyn Nets, and his endorsement of one of the best basketball players in the world, in Kevin Durant, who happens to be an African American ball player. Our problem right now is this situation based on him being white and having knowledge, or the fact that the black head coaches were available for head coaching opportunities and not get the job.
All right, so let's hear what Stephen A. Smith had to say about this, because he was very, very upset. And
that I don't know what I'm talking about, etc., etc. I don't give a damn what y'all feel.
Stephen A. Smith had his opinion on it.
I don't give a damn.
And we're going to dive into that situation as well. Basically, Steve Nash being hired, and obviously Stephen A. Smith
I'm
is very
calling it
vocal
today. I'm going to call it white privilege a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now.
Hold on, Barrett. Hold on. Let's listen to Stephen A. Smith.
Platform can do that because I was doing it 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I was doing this when Kevin Durant was in elementary school. My position has been very, very clear. And for those out there that don't comprehend, that don't understand where I'm coming from, when I'm talking about white privilege, my apologies to Steve Nash, because it's not his fault. Good luck. I think he's going to do a great job. I'm happy for him because he's a good dude. Sean Marks, I think, is doing an exceptional job in Brooklyn. I wish him nothing but the best. But when I'm talking about white privilege, I am saying this man with no coaching resume whatsoever gets his first job as a coach.
Can you hear him?
In the media capital of the world.
Nope.
Coaching a championship-ready squad.
Oh, I can't hear him.
One of the greatest players in the history of basketball.
All right, so basically, Stephen A. Smith was very animated about this. He was really upset, and he believes there was other black candidates that could have been maybe better candidates than Steve Nash per se. Kenneth, your take on that? Let's start with you, man.
Well, starting a war is easy, but ending a war is not. I think that before he spoke out the way he did, he should have looked at what this white Caucasian brings to the table. Obviously, if we look beyond the friendship that he had with the owner, he has some pretty good accolades. But I believe because the Brooklyn Nets are primarily based in Brooklyn, most of the team, they don't have too many white people on their team, correct?
No.
Oh, Joe Harris. I mean, in terms of basketball players, you mean?
Exactly.
Just Joe Harris, really, and Musa, but he's an Eastern European, and you have Rodion Kurucs, and he's another third white guy on there.
Well, the point I'm trying to say is that I believe that in certain cases, you need to have a black person to begin the process to show that they can actually do the job. This young man obviously got the job based on the fact of who he knew. I don't think it was based on the fact of what he brought to the table.
Yeah, that's right. Because his relationship with Sean Marks goes back to their playing days in Phoenix, and obviously they've gotten very friendly over the years. Of course, Steve Nash, he was the ambassador of Canada through the soccer. He's a very good soccer player, by the way, and obviously he's a Hall of Fame ball player, two-time NBA MVP. He helped both the Phoenix Suns and the Dallas Mavericks win over an average of 55 games in the time he was playing with both teams. So he's very accomplished. He's very well liked, and apparently he's a very smart player. Not to mention, at the end of the day, he was a consultant behind Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors, who, and most importantly, was coached by Mark Jackson before Mark Jackson was excommunicated from that team.
I like that word.
So, that's kind of where we are. If we look at a pattern, I'm not going to go out there and say the Golden State Warriors are racist. I'm not going to go out and say the Brooklyn Nets or the Phoenix Suns or Dallas Mavericks, any of these teams. But obviously, you have Steve Kerr, who did not have experience as well, coaching a team that was organized by Mark Jackson. And behind Mr. Kerr, you had Steve Nash consulting him. So, then you had the relationship that him and Sean Marks have as well. So you put all that together, you see why he's hired. I can understand what Stephen A. Smith's problem was with the situation. You have guys like the aforementioned Mark Jackson out there that's available. You have a lot of black coaches out there. Tyronn Lue, another player was mentioned. Jason Kidd, another individual was mentioned. These are all people who have African American backgrounds. How come these guys were not interviewed for the position? That's what we need to talk about. Not necessarily who got hired, but why weren't these guys brought in for an interview? That's the big problem right now. And I think that's what Stephen A. Smith's problem is right now as well.
Well, we know. Go ahead, Kenneth. Go ahead.
Well, if they brought them in for an interview and they still didn't get the job, would that change the narrative? He gave them the interview.
Right.
They didn't get the job. It's almost like Kaepernick. We gave him the interview. We're not giving him the job, but we're just going to go through the motions.
Right. We don't know that's the case. We don't know if they received the interview. That's the whole thing. That might be the fire behind Stephen A. Smith's particular position right now. They get an opportunity to walk through the door and basically tell Sean Marks and the rest of the management team, this is what we bring to the table. This is what will happen if you hire me as head coach. This is what we're going to be this year, next year, and beyond. That's the whole thing. Did they get that opportunity? And right now, as far as we know on the surface of things, the answer is no. We right now know that Steve Nash was able to be awarded this position based on who he knew and the accolades he had in the past, along with the fact that he played alongside the person who's in charge of hiring the head coach right now, which is Sean Marks. So that's where our issue is right now. Is that the right thing to go about? To give someone the opportunity to have a head coaching position who has no experience whatsoever, who happens to be Caucasian?
Well, he has the complexion for the protection that leads to the collection. Okay? His skin color allows him the ability to do things that a non-white person would not be able to do. Now, he's going to have to prove himself because Mr. Smith has already laid out the foundation. So he's going to have to start winning games. That would shut everybody up. And I think that was one of the reasons they probably got him, because he won games. Okay? Which brings to the other thing, can't black people win games? I mean,
well, remember, listen, he was chosen by Kyrie and more specifically Kevin Durant.
It was just Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant signed off on it.
Yeah. And we know in the NBA it is a star-driven league. The players have a lot of power, and a black man, Kenneth, chose this guy.
Well, his recommendation was very strong. His recommendation was very strong, but at the end of the day, Sean Marks was the one that had to make the decision, and he made the decision pretty fast. Okay, and this went down without anyone. If anybody took notice that this went down with any knowledge whatsoever, that no one knew this interview was going down, no one knew Steve Nash was in town to interview for the Brooklyn Nets position. No one knew. They threw this out there the moment of decision.
Well, that's how Sean Marks pretty much. That's how he rolls. Pretty much, he keeps things. There's no leaks or anything like that, There's.
Well, no, I mean that's the whole thing. He's made things public before. Even when his pursuit of the two ball players we're talking about now, Kyrie and Kevin Durant.
Well, that wasn't. No, I don't know about that. He didn't make that. We wasn't sure whether they were going with D'Angelo Russell. I wasn't pretty much sure. There was rumors of it, but there wasn't anything from Sean Marks saying that they were actually pursuing Kyrie and Kevin Durant.
They were out there in Brooklyn, brother. I'm sorry, that's beyond advertising. Steve Nash walked through the door and no one seen him. Steve Nash was in there interviewing and no one seen him. Kyrie and Kevin Durant were in Brooklyn. People saw them. How is that keeping that league
Well, we got this whole Zoom technology now, and this whole COVID thing, and this whole stupid ass social distancing thing. So a lot of these meetings are actually can be done by Zoom, as we are doing right now.
It could be.
I mean, you've seen. You've seen the stock, right? The stock is like the stock is like $700 a share now, man.
Yeah, well, listen. At the end of the day, however way it got done, it was done a lot differently than any team, including Sean Marks, would have handled it. 9 times out of 10, this would have been in the public eye. 9 times out of 10, someone would have heard about it. Rumor had it. Wojnarowski from ESPN would have been the first to report it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This went underneath every.
Well, no, I'm just saying, as a person who is a Brooklyn Nets fan, I mean, this is how Sean Marks actually rolls. I mean, nobody saw the D'Angelo Russell trade coming. There was no rumors, nothing. So that's just how Sean Marks rolls. He tries to roll. He rolls in silence, and it shows that the organization is pretty much strong when you don't have any leaks coming out of it, because you hear leaks from a lot of other organizations when things are going to happen. So there was no leaks, and that, I mean, listen, I'm just going by Sean Marks. I've been following this team for like 23 years, man. 23 years.
Sean Marks just took over the team a couple years ago, bro.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, I read all the news, the press releases, all the news stuff from Nets Daily. Shout out to you guys.
Yeah.
So they.
Because the bottom line is right now, okay, whether or not he's the master of secrecy or not, which I don't think anyone is. Someone had to know something and sworn to secrecy. But anyway, needless to say, they need to hear that. Bottom line is, we're at the point now where this man was hired, and we believe that other people should not have been interviewed for that position at the very least. And we know, according to exactly what Kenneth said, protection for the complexion for the protection. Which sometimes I'm sorry, that doesn't have to work. It didn't have to work in Golden State, where he was a consultant behind Steve Kerr. Did anyone know about that? And Golden State is a good team to go out there and drop leaks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I never knew that. I never knew he was a consultant at all.
No one knew that.
No one knew. That's what I'm saying. Nobody. And that's the thing with a strong organization. Even like a presidency, man. You got a lot of leaks coming out of there. Of the Oval Office, then that's not.
I don't think that's Sean Marks, but I think that's Steve Nash and his representatives. That's what I'm trying to allude to right now.
Yeah.
No one knew he was a consultant in Golden State. You understand what I'm saying? And no one knew he interviewed with the Brooklyn Nets. Doesn't that seem to be a path? I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not denying. You know what I'm saying? I'm not denying the Brooklyn Nets are not a strong organization, but this might not be them. This might be Steve Nash and his representatives.
All right, Kenneth, what do you actually think, man? I mean, now that you heard the information of Kevin Durant.
Keeping secrets?
No. I mean, no. I'm just saying, like, you heard that Kevin Durant pretty much selected Steve Nash. Does that change your perspective? Did you hear me, Kenneth? Or because you froze up for a second?
I got you.
Okay. Because you took notes. I know you. You like to prepare. So I threw this oddball at you over here, man. Yeah, Kenneth is freezing up on us here.
If the eyes do not...
Yeah, he's freezing up.
Yeah.
Kenneth, you're freezing, baby.
You mean me?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Listen, that's technically. Hey, this is Zoom, man. I'm giving you guys one more shot, Mr.
What
Gates.
this team is going to do? Am I still freezing? Am I good?
No,
you're good now. Now you're good. Yeah.
Okay.
No, let me repeat my question to you. My question was, and I know you like to prep for things though, but I threw you a curveball now. That Kevin Durant, and did you actually still agree with Stephen A. Smith that Kevin Durant actually pretty much picked Steve Nash to actually be the coach. Yeah, Kenneth, you there?
Okay, is everything?
Yeah, we're hearing you now. Go ahead. He just actually agreed with Kevin Durant's choice as head coach. Go ahead.
Me, do I agree?
Do you actually disagree with Stephen A? I mean, knowing that Kevin Durant, a black guy who actually picked a white guy for his head coach, do you actually still agree with? Do you disagree with Stephen A right now in terms of white privilege?
Well, I mean, this is a guy that has been given white privilege, and for him to attack it, he's on very dangerous ground. Okay? He was given white privilege to be in the job that he is in, and for him to attack it will cost him ratings and white power base. Okay? Because a lot of black people don't agree with him. Okay? So for him to actually go after this situation and call it white privilege, he needs to check his privilege, because he was given privilege to have the job that he has right now, and this is going to cost him ratings, and we may not see him again. You may not see him again, because when you claim white privilege, that's a big indictment.
All right. So what? Listen, Kenneth. What is white privilege? I don't understand that really. The true definition. I think I'm gonna probably get a dictionary or thesaurus and look the stuff up. But what is white privilege?
White privilege is a set of benefits granted to white people. Now, I have met white people and they have asked for white privilege, and they said, "Well, I don't understand. How come I don't have white privilege?" White privilege primarily is the ability to make decisions to affect everyone without taking others into account. White privilege is a set of unearned credits that a white person gets. This is what white privilege is. When a black person is bestowed white privilege, they move up the ranks, while other blacks who can do a job better than them, they move up the ranks. So when you talk about white privilege from a black person saying it, he just lost his job.
Barrick, what's your assessment on that?
My assessment on white privilege. Well,
No, what Kenneth just said. You think Stephen A is actually putting his career in jeopardy? What is he going to get fired? You think, or the ratings may tank, and ESPN may say, "Hey, let's just nix this guy here." What do you think?
Well, all due respect to Kenneth, I agree with a lot of what he said. As far as him being fired, I don't see that happening. First of all, first take is Stephen A. Smith's show. And, without him on the show, that's pretty much why the ratings are where they are. He's very illuminating, he's very opinionated, he's very excitable, but this is kind of what they're paying him for. This is why, he's on the show. So if you remove him from there, where's first take going to be? That's when you're going to really consider losing his ratings then, in that regard.
Well, first of all, let us look at what white people do. Remember on Fox they had those two black women, Candy and Diamond, whatever their names was, and then when they said the wrong thing, because they were two black women who were Trump supporters, okay? And
right.
When they said the wrong thing, they were dropped. Regardless of their following, they were dropped, okay?
Right.
Same thing with this gentleman. They will drop him like a bad habit and put somebody else in there, okay? Because this is what white people do. As long as you're doing what they want you to do, you're fine. You start biting the hand that feeds you, thinking you are untouchable, think that you have some power, and you're done. And I think that it's just a matter of time before white people take a second look at him and say, we're not going to support him. It's almost
I'm sorry. Yeah. Finish up.
And it's almost like the same stuff going on in the NBA right now. We're going to get into it later. But if I'm working hard 40 hours a week and somebody gives me basketball tickets or football tickets, and sports is a form of escapism. So if I go into a NBA arena and I see Black Lives Matter or the NBA players wearing these shirts, I will walk out because I didn't come for that. You know what I'm saying? So just like with this guy, Mr. Smith, I don't watch him though, but I think that he has did an injustice by coming out against this situation because it was white privilege that gave him his hand up. White people giveth and white people taketh away.
Okay, now I want you to understand something. Stephen A. Smith made a comment. So I forgot who the please forgive me. I forgot who the moderator was then. She was African American at the time. She was at that time she was employed by ESPN for about a year. Oh yeah, Carrie Champion, that was her name, Carrie Champion. And he had made a comment based on a woman who allowed certain things to happen during her escapade with a player. And that would include rape allegations. And he made a comment about what women should not do in certain situations. He then was checked. He was actually suspended for 1 day. He was checked then. That happened 6 years ago. And if you notice now, they were different moderators. Now they have Miss Molly Kern Rose now. She's been consistently there. But since that moment, he has not made any comments in regards to what women's position should be and what happens from that point. He was checked. Was he checked on this? The answer is no. So you're right with your position. But the only stance I take on this is the simple fact that this has now got to a point where, yeah, they paid him an X amount of money. Yeah, he can get knocked off at any time. But someone is supporting the situation because he hasn't been checked. When he made that comment on that show, when that show had concluded, they said, where was Stephen A. Smith? He was suspended for one whole week without pay. He didn't get checked this time.
All right, so we're gonna let's pause for a second.